Every Republican accusation is an admission of the truth about themselves. We say it again and again because it continues to prove out to be true. And the best example, of course, is Donald Trump, someone who talked about the weaponization of the DOJ on the campaign trail constantly, only to come into office and immediately go after the independent judiciary and use the DOJ to go after his political enemies. And at the same time, Donald Trump talked about the weaponization of the media, how the free press was being attacked and he was going to be bringing back free speech. But now we see Donald Trump trying to suppress free speech, free press, and in the latest example of that, he kicked the press out of an event, once again abruptly stopping it after a complete meltdown. And we are going to get into that, but before we do, if I could quickly ask you to leave a like on this video, and if you haven't already and you enjoy our channel, to hit that subscribe button. It goes a long way, and it really does mean a lot to me. Now, before we can get into Donald Trump just kicking the press out of his event after a complete meltdown, we have to start where it did with what Donald Trump was saying to reporters right here.
Because it was done terribly. It was done terribly. The concept was very bad.
Mr. President, why was it so important for you to come here today to the Kennedy Center? You have so much on your plate. Why come today here?
This represents a very important part of D.C. and actually our country. And I think it's important to make sure that our country is in good shape and is represented well. When people look at this, I've been hearing for a long time that they come here and they're very disappointed. When they come here, I want them to be excited. We're bringing a big move onto Washington, D.C. We're going to stop the crime. We actually worked with the mayor. We took down a lot of tents. They were all over the place in front of the State Department. And they did a good job of that. I was very happy with what the mayor did. She was able to get them out quickly and at my direction and at the direction of the administration. But we're cleaning up Washington, D.C. This is a big part of Washington, D.C.
So Trump was addressing reporters before he went into a little pseudo press conference, which we can't call it that because of what he did to the reporters at the Kennedy Center. And so he was answering questions about D.C. and said that he was going to be lowering crime and bringing the city back to its golden age, even though Donald Trump won't tell you that Congress just cut $1 billion from the D.C. budget. Now, I'm sure a lot of people don't care necessarily about what happens in our nation's capital, but if Donald Trump is going to plan on cutting down crime, removing police officers and services necessary in D.C., yeah, I'm not sure that's exactly going to accomplish your goal. But as we always talk about, this is just the hypocrisy of Donald Trump, and it's no surprise that we saw more of it right here.
Sir, there were 18 Secret Service agents protecting Hunter Biden in South Africa this weekend. Who's paying for that, and do you plan to revoke the Secret Service protection?
Well, we have done that with many. I would say if there are 18 with Hunter Biden, that will be something I'll look at this afternoon, okay?
Sure.
I just heard about it for the first time. So you have 18 Secret Service going, where is he exactly?
In South Africa.
In South Africa. And South Africa, you know, is on a watch list.
How many times on the campaign trail did Donald Trump say that Joe Biden had weaponized the presidency to go after him and his family and his political opponents? Now, of course, all of that was a lie. But now that Donald Trump is president, he is taking Secret Service protections away. He is stripping people of their security clearances, all for speaking out against him. And now he is going to put Hunter Biden, someone constantly physically threatened by MAGA, in harm's way by taking away his Secret Service that is provided to the family members of ex-presidents, and of course, someone who is well known and disliked amongst MAGA, a clearly violent group of people. And this is as Donald Trump really encourages his supporters to do whatever they want, take their action into their own hands after pardoning 1,500 violent criminals. He is basically at this point instructing them to go after Hunter Biden, and that's the reason why he is running scared from the press, because he doesn't like this pushback. And as we can see in these two clips, yeah, he doesn't want the press to be hearing from him.
So we're going to spend a lot of effort, a lot of money on crime, and we're going to spend it on fixing up. We don't want graffitis on the beautiful white statuary marble, and we want to have our roads good and everything else. We'll be able to do that easily, and this is a part of it. I mean, Kennedy Center is a very big part of it, and you can't have this looking like it does. I'm so surprised because, you know, I know the person who was in charge of it. I've been so busy, I haven't been able to be here in a long time. and I shouldn't be with what I'm doing. But I thought it was important because I've been hearing reports, and I thought it was very important to make this good. It's a very big part of the fabric of Washington, D.C., and we're going to make our capital great again, just like we're going to make our country great again. April 2nd is Liberation Day for our country because we're going to finally be taking in money. We're already doing it, a lot of money. As you know, we put down some early tariffs on people and countries that were not treating us well. And that's both.
All right, it appears the camera has removed the audio there. I'm not sure if they're kicking out the media right now from this board meeting or if they're just getting a different angle entirely. We're going to hang with it here as it goes to color bars. So it appears that they are removing the media from this event. We do have...
So that was Trump talking at the Kennedy Center, and as we can see from the Newsmax reporter, then removing the press from the event. Donald Trump does not want to be covered. Donald Trump does not want to be asked tough questions. It's the reason he has decided the only press he wants is the press that will support him. It's what we've seen from Carolyn Leavitt. It's the reason she is not going to the White House Correspondents Association dinner. But it's also the reason we've seen mass protests of that event, journalists saying they are not going as Donald Trump continues to censor them. But this attack on the free press isn't just a means to strike down Donald Trump's political enemies. What it represents more broadly is the important intimidation factor that is key to everything that this administration does. We saw Donald Trump going after law firms that weren't supporting necessarily Democrats, but worked for Jack Smith or the DNC or Hillary Clinton's campaign in 2016. In 2016, 9 years ago. What Donald Trump is trying to do, more so than just attack his enemies, is present a message to anyone willing to oppose him that they will be got after. Donald Trump plans to go after you. Donald Trump plans to attack you. Donald Trump plans to use every lever of power he possibly can to intimidate and attack. That's what they want to do. And they want to scare the press just as much as they want to scare everyone to not report on it, to not cover it, and to not call it out. And of course, it doesn't just happen in the press pool. It also happens on the social media platforms that Donald Trump largely controls with his buddy Elon Musk. And on this topic, Jasmine Crockett not too long ago spoke about the censorship, and I think we just need to check out what she had to say.
Pick out the First Amendment and say that it is limitless. The thing about the Constitution is that it has always been a balancing test. There are limits to this. And right now, what we continue to hear from a certain side of the aisle is that there are no limits to this lawlessness. In fact, there are limits. And I can tell you that one of those limits typically is around hate crimes. You may or may not know that when it comes down to it, if somebody decides that they want to send something hateful in, say, the U.S. mail, they can actually go to prison for that, up to 5 years in prison. So yes, there are always going to be limits. So when we start to talk about Trump and him being pulled down on any platform, this just happened to be after he incited an insurrection. This just happened to be after, in a bipartisan way, this particular chamber decided that they were going to impeach him. So there was something a little different about what he did, because as we know, it led to people actually dying. But let's talk about who's doing the nefarious things with the tech giants. Because I don't think that one side of the aisle is promoting truth, but sometimes it may seem a little treasonous. All right, so we've got this article right here about this guy. Meta says it will end its fact-checking program on social media posts. I'll talk about that a little bit later. Then we have Washington Post says it will not endorse a candidate for president. We also know that actually they absolutely intended to endorse Kamala Harris. We have this one. Google Maps now show Gulf of America instead of Gulf of Mexico for app users in the United States, which is a complete farce because it's the Gulf of Mexico. It always has been. And we know that the AP got kicked out yesterday because they refused to buy into this lie, because that's all y'all really want to promote is lies. That's the big issue that we have. Elon Musk boosted false USA conspiracy theories to shut down global aid. Now, while he was boosting those lies about U.S. aid, and he was stopping money going for, say, things such as Head Start, somehow the only money that didn't stop was the money to him and his organization. Now, I don't know how you can have him be the watchdog as well as the guy that is literally living off of the government. If we want to talk about government welfare, it looks like Elon Musk, because it's my understanding that just on yesterday, a new contract was approved for approximately $300 million for Elon Musk. So listen, I just want y'all to be honest. You want to sit here, you want to lie, because so often we hear, well, you know, yeah, we did lie. In fact, he admitted that he lied when he was in the Oval Office yesterday. But if it's a lie that will get you into office, such as saying, I know nothing about Project 2025, yet on day one, you literally do everything that you can to implement it, including making sure that you put, say, one of the main architects of Project 2025 over the OMB, it's okay, so long as you get the power that you seek. The problem is that the game is going to be on the American people. And when I say the American people, I mean all of us. Unfortunately, I am also stuck in the twilight zone because of the lies that were allowed to be propagated. Just like when you're talking about vaccines and all this nonsense. Right now in my state of Texas, there is an outbreak of measles. And what they are finding is that because there's been so much disinformation about vaccines, that kids are sick right now with measles that they did not have to have if they just trusted doctors and experts instead of randoms online. So I will end by saying this, Mr. Chairman, because I know we believe in Jesus in this chamber. In John 8:32, it says, the truth shall set you free. So maybe we should focus on a little bit of truth in this chamber.
MAGA is always talking about how they fight for free speech and it's what they care about so much. And oh, it's the right that's having our speech suppressed when it's constantly being uplifted on the biggest platforms in the world. For a while, when I talked about this, I used to say that the biggest podcasts were Joe Rogan, Candace Owens, and Tucker Carlson, and they still are some of the biggest podcasts, but now the biggest podcast is actually the Midas Touch podcast. So shout out to Brett, Ben, and Jordy for getting it done for left-wing media over there. But we look at the biggest cable outlet, it's Fox. We look at Jeff Bezos deciding that the Washington Post will now just be a tool for Donald Trump. The same thing has happened with the billionaire ownership over at the LA Times. Outlets are scared. And if they're not scared, they're blatantly right-wing. Donald Trump controls the press, even though he will tell you that he doesn't. And that is why it is so important for independent media like Midas Touch, like Adam Mockler, like Brian Tyler Cohen, like David Pakman, like this show right here, to continue to call them out, because we are unafraid of the censorship of Donald Trump. And I promise you, we will always fight back on this show. And if you want to support that, as always, you can hit that subscribe button. You can leave a like on this video. And if you haven't already, you can drop a blue heart in the comments. Until next time, I'll see you soon.